This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Jason Lamberth.
So then she moved out of country. Oh, you were in, oh, no. You were
Yeah.
in Berlin too.
Yeah, I was in Berlin.
And she got together with
Yeah.
her ex-boyfriend, and you were devastated.
Yeah.
And where were the kids? In Germany?
In Berlin. So I would go back and forth between Bali and Berlin, but at that point, because as I said too, I was also thinking, okay, I just built this expensive factory in Bali. But for me, my priority was my family. And so I was thinking, well, look, we're having difficulties. I'll just stay here and focus on this. Maybe I'll do acting. Maybe I'll do something else. But I'm going to have to stop that. And then when I found the letter and the things started happening, I'm like, oh, I can't stop it. I got to revive it, you know? So that's kind of what happened there. What was the question again? Sorry.
No, so during the break, we were talking about job experience. I want to hear that because I want to share that with our audience. And the scripture you quoted, because a lot of people don't read Job.
Yeah.
So then you went on a mission. I want to hear all that.
Well, the verse that I was quoting was the thing I feared the most has come upon me. I'm paraphrasing, but what I feared the most has happened to me. And that's Job, and basically that's what I was describing with her coming to the door. I've been creating all these nightmares in my mind about what could happen, and here it is. It's happening, and the correlation between that's how things happen. You plant the seeds in your mind, you cultivate the soil, you get it all prepared, and then these things happen because that's the environment, that's the seeds that have been planted. And I feel like she planted her seeds of abandonment or whatever, or her issues, and I had my own issues as well. And I think that's the thing I feared the most has come upon me. And so now my prayer is the thing I want the most, the things I love the most has come upon me. That's how when I get into a funk or things are not I stop myself and I start thinking how I want it to go, and I start envisioning, me having plenty of money to do what and all of those things. You have to shift your perspective.
Keep the mind on the positive side than negative. That's very powerful. A lot of people, that's their struggle. And I've seen even very young people. I have particularly one friend and always complaining. And I said, have you ever stopped and thought about how privileged you are? Because you're studying in one of the finest institutions, your parents pay the bills, you live in the city, and you take an Uber to get to a coffee shop every morning. Have you even thought about that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because for some people, no, unless I have 25 grand, I can't really live in the city.
Yeah.
So, in this complaining mindset. So that's very powerful, to remain positive.
Yeah.
And then you were mad at God? What if it was God's will? Because you use a term that it was God's grace. So do you think it was God's will? It happened? Because you did not, in a way, initiate it.
Right. Yeah.
The laptop. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it a laptop?
Yeah.
A letter. Okay. I thought
it was a laptop. Yeah.
Okay. So the laptop was open.
Yeah.
And you got exposed to something. So you did not.
That wasn't really my business.
But it's like when something is thrown at you and you can't miss it.
Yeah.
We can have an argument. You could have done like this.
Sure.
But still, it came to you.
Yeah.
Unexpected.
And
you were devastated. It was like being in Job's shoes.
Yeah.
And did you question God, or you
Absolutely.
when did you think it was okay? It was maybe God's grace and God's will, and I should be thankful, or like was it easy? Like the Apostle Paul says, that be thankful in whatever
Yeah, no, I mean,
circumstances you are.
at that point, all of my sort of quote unquote religion started to really be getting questioned, and to really, like, the carpet just got pulled out from under me. But definitely in Job, I mean, he had these dialogues with God, or, you know, about, I don't deserve this. I don't. This is not. I didn't do anything wrong, and that was my experience. Like, I was like, but wait a second. Like, this isn't supposed to happen to me. I can see it happening to them because they did but not to me. I mean, because I was teaching meditation for a lot of people. I had a following. People send me emails all the time asking my advice for free. I didn't any money I got, I donated it to charities or whatever. It wasn't for me. I was doing my part, and I wasn't even asking for money. I was making good money, and that was I think the biggest part of my torture was the fact that I don't deserve this. And if you look at Job, he, all the friends that are talking to him, which are basically, all of this is happening in his head, and these guys are, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And he was questioning, like, I don't deserve this.
He had another voice too. Curse God and die.
Yeah.
Wives.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I learned is that was my sin. That was me missing the mark, because I was, it's not about deserving or anything like that. I mean, eventually, I think most people deal with either shame or guilt in an unhealthy way. I think we all deal with shame. Well, it's not. Shame and guilt is unhealthy. It's not. You're not supposed to be dealing with that. That's a poison you is better left not touched. You don't. Shame or guilt will never get you anywhere but into the gutter. And I had that. I definitely went through all of that. I was on this pedestal of kind of this morally. Everybody knew me as this cool designer that's also a meditation teacher that he does for his own good. And I had this kind of thing, and then all of a sudden I'm divorced, and I was like, wait a, and then my business goes bad, and like, I just had all these struggles. It wasn't supposed to happen to me, which was why it was happening to me, I think, in the end.
That's what we call God's will.
Yeah, I think that for me, that started to open up Job's story more. Was to me, the Job story is basically a pattern of growth. Just like the seed has a pattern and it has a time. And I think the Job story also is a metaphor or a symbol for spiritual growth, where you get to the point of questioning God's authority. Because wait, didn't you see? Haven't you been reading the books? I'm clean. I don't deserve this. And that's kind of where what I was dealing with. I don't deserve this, and yet here it is. And my suffering got prolonged because I wouldn't let go. And when I finally let go, and it took 5 or 6 years for me to, and I still, in many ways, I'm still letting go. But when I finally let go is when I started to see the light again. I was, but but I did have a time where, yeah, I was pissed at God and I didn't want to hear anything about it, but I still was very much searching. And I was willing to search. I was willing, and like, I want to talk to who is responsible for this. I want to talk to him, and if it's Satan I want to talk to him, because this is, I got an issue. I was kind of like in that kind of place, and I had to get out of that place, but it took a while. It took a long time, actually. And I think that too was a divine intervention. I do think the Job story is it's a story of redemption and grace, and also hope, because for me, I kind of feel like I've lived the Job story, and also it gives me hope because he got doubly blessed afterwards. And I think there's nothing wrong with taking Scripture's promises and like holding on to them, because I'm holding on to that. Like, okay, so I went through this very dark time in my life. And I feel like I was as innocent as I could possibly be, to the point of being a goody two shoes in a way. And yet this is happening to me. It doesn't sync with what I think of justice is, and all of that. And I bitched and complained and moaned, and now I'm really happy that I went through it, which usually happens with a lot of these things. You go through them and it's difficult, and I do think that, just like gold is a metaphor in the Bible, and it talks about the furnaces of afflictions and Lamentations, when it talks about, God puts you through the furnaces of afflictions. Definitely. For my own sake, I do it. And I think that's how we grow, and that's how we, sometimes you got to get taken to the place where you have nothing left other than it's you and your shadow, and then there's God, and you have to sort of kind of come to I didn't have really any. It was a dark place, like there's nothing, and then you kind of have to rely on God, and your faith gets tested, and I'm kind of coming out on the other side of that now, and now there's this whole acting thing, and it's kind of like a beautiful thing, like when you start to kind of, after you've been in the game for a while, and you start to see signs, and you start to see the patterns, and these patterns that I'm experiencing right now are very similar to the pattern that I had when I was playing football, or then when I went and came to New York and was acting, and I'm experiencing some of those same things. But I had a decade when I wasn't experiencing those in the way that I'm experiencing now, and that was a huge test. Now, but I learned Hebrew. I learned this whole symbolic code in the Bible that I would have never learned. Right. I would have, because I had to, like, this doesn't make sense, but this says this. It's got to be, and then it was a complete random, how I started learning about gematria. That's a 2 or 3 episode thing, complete random thing. And then this guy was talking about how to beat the gambling system. Like, you could bet on games, and he was proving it, and he was saying, and this is how you do it using gematria. I was just like, well, what in the world is this? And then I started making money from it, from gambling on games. Like, oh, I've cracked the code through this gematria, because it's a hard thing to describe, but that's how I got into it. It's a completely random thing. And then I started studying Hebrew, because I'm like, okay, well, the Hebrew they were doing all this stuff with gematria, and it's definitely in the Bible because you can see how the codes are matching up. Yeah, numerology and all that stuff. I wasn't, or astrology. Like I started studying all of that stuff too. So I got into a whole bunch of things, the mysterious side of it, that I never would have otherwise. And I'm so happy that I did. For a while there, I got into astrology. I started to follow it religiously, but I started to see, there's definitely a lot of uh, wisdom in it. But again, it's all symbols. It's all symbolism. It's like, and then I kind of.
So those of us who were like, okay, how did these magi's look like? So the modern magi will look like you. Not a guy on a camel going to see baby Jesus like we see in Christmas plays.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But, I think in Luke, they're kings, and in another one, I'm mixing them up, but one gospel, they're kings, and the other gospel, they're shepherds. But they still are three.
What's the
three kings? The kings of Orient. Yeah.
But I mean, my understanding, I am not a historian, is poor people in any era or century might not have access to the mathematics and astrology. And so what if they were some sort of royals from the East? That's why they were magi's, they were kings. And they had camels because I think, back then they didn't have airplanes.
I think when we see royals and kings or stuff, we think of like
the British.
But I think you're right. Your interpretation is like, what if it's just like you and I, and we're dealing with these mystical themes. I think that's right.
The hymns and the maybe in the Bible, I don't want to I don't know the exact verse, but there has been a clear idea through the text that they came from the East. Right. So East was back in the day, Eastern Empire, because that's the oldest civilization. There might be some people who were privileged. Or I've also gotten to learn now that they were kings and queens of a very small little state. And that might be smaller than Soho. And because they didn't have a lot of population. But you're right, when we think of kings and all that, because we think of these multi-million-dollar Hollywood movies. That's our source of inspiration.
Right.
That's why we view Jesus a bit differently, and Magi is a bit differently. And whenever we want to talk about East and stuff, we just show poor people like shepherds. Like in rags and all. Right? But what if those shepherds were not poor either? It was because they were just guarding their flock, and that's why they were out. So everything, when it's read and understood in its context, as you mentioned, that words can change. Not you said it a little differently, but just when you were talking about the letter, the context. What was the context?
Right.
We didn't get to talk about. And, that at that time, it was difficult. But now you are a total newbie, and you went through all this stuff.
Yeah. I think the whole spiritual journey is, if you knew what you were going to go through, you'd never sign up for it. You'd never sign up for it.
Right.
But once you go through it, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'd do that again 10 times.
Right.
But, and things shift. Like I said, when I stopped playing football, my world was over. I was completely, just shattered. And then within 2 years, I was in New York, on my journey, and it was like, oh my gosh, and I completely recontextualized the whole story. And that's why, like, the story will change as you change, so that when I look back, when I have perspective from the divorce, now that I've got 10 years, it's been 10 years or so, now that I have a 10-year perspective, my whole story about it has shifted. Now, if you would have asked me a year after my divorce, I'd have been like, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm like, oh, I learned this, I learned this, we grew this, we did that, and I learned how to also reconcile stuff with my daughters and then my ex-wife and how I judged people and how they were innocent and just like I was innocent. Like she didn't do anything wrong. She really didn't do anything wrong, and neither did I. It was, we. So I think I'd love to, some of the things I'd love to be able to go back, and I think
in the history.
Yeah.
If you were a time traveler.
Yeah. Just sort of like, oh, it'd be nice what if I could have done that like this, but I think there are scriptures in all the religious texts, not just this Bible, but about there's always some story about like there's a parable about this wealthy man and the accountant of the wealthy man owed the wealthy man some money, and then he got told, I don't know if in a dream or something, but no, the wealthy man and him were having a conversation. This is right. The wealthy man and his accountant were having a conversation, and the wealthy man owed money. And he's like, "We'll change the books. I owe them 100. Okay, we'll change it to 50. And I owe them this, half it and half that." And like if you read that and like you're not supposed to lie and all that stuff, it's like that doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. If you take it from a symbolic level, it was like, look, here's what happened in your life. You got a divorce. You lost all your money. You got it. Don't keep replaying that in your mind, because you're just going to be in loss, divorce. You're going to change it. You guys are happy. You're not happily married, but change the story into a positive one, so that when you keep revisiting that, you'll reshape the story, and the story your life will reshape. It's not that facts are going to change, although they could. It's that you will change, and then your story about what happened will change, so that as I'm now learning this technique, I'm meeting people. I'm, and we're like this is a completely gift from God.
I was going to say gift. Actually, you are a gift to all of us.
No, but you're a gift to me, because I'm talking about all this stuff and I'm able to kind of contextualize it, which is helping me in the future, because my stories about my past are improving. And the more you improve your stories about the past, the better your future will be. So that thing about go back and revise, go back, like it's called the unjust steward. Look it up, the unjust steward. He's the steward of his money. He what that's referring to is change this. Don't have a bad past. If you have a bad past, change it. If you had a bad day, change it. Like today, tonight, before I'm going to bed, if whatever I didn't like about my day today, shift it, change it into something you did like. This is actually what happened. And you say, well, that's lying. Well, think about it though. Like you broke your leg, and that was, and you missed the dance to go with your sweetheart. But a war broke out. Now you can't go to war because you have a broken leg. See what I'm saying? Like I missed the war, so you have to kind of be open to, there's different sides of the story. Okay, I can play we got the war, blah, 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 or I can start revising it. Now, it's not necessarily easy, but that's kind of the point of it all. It's like you keep working on it. Yeah.
Jason, God does work in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's the wisest move is to keep holding on to the faith, as you mentioned, and just trust the process.
Yeah.
If you trust God, then trust the process. And let go. The other thing I learned is let go. And a lot of us struggle with that because we all like to be the in charge, be in control. But what you mentioned was very profound, that once you let go, your life began to change.
Yeah.
For the greater good.
Yeah.
And if we use more traditional language, you opened a room for the Holy Spirit to begin the healing process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Today.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
wish you well on the flight.
Yeah, thank you.
Get to Atlanta safely.
Thank you.
And hope to have you again. You have been a gift to,
my pleasure. Yeah, I would love to come
me
back.
and hopefully to the listeners.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. It's a privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.